Hello, this is Riding with Rhi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My channel is all about my experience of first-time horse ownership in Surrey, United Kingdom. In this week's video, I take you with me on my weekly lesson with my coach. This is the first lesson that Woody and I have had since his lameness a few weeks ago, where we were trying to work out what was going on. We've presumed that it was a bruised sole, and so last weekend I spent the time walk hacking and just seeing how he felt, and then I schooled him on Tuesday just in walk and trot, so today will be the first time that I school him in canter with my coach. And in today's lesson, we are focusing on adding tools to our toolbox when it comes to warm-ups. So one of the things I love about my lessons with my coach is that she gives me a lot of extra tools and things I can pull out of my bag when I'm schooling Woody by myself. So, oh, this is happening, so I'm going to do this, or okay, I really want to achieve this feeling, so I'm going to do this exercise. And today it's all about making him balance himself, so riding on a long rein and making him be the one to balance himself as we go up and down through transition. So quite an interesting one. I'll show you some footage from the ground so you can see it all happening as it happens, essentially. I've also been answering questions that you guys asked me on Instagram, so towards the end of the video I do some tack cleaning, I'm turning Woody out and I'm answering some of your questions. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave those below. I would really love it if you guys would help me get to 10,000 followers. It is such an exciting moment. I'm so nearly there, so if you watch my content regularly but you don't yet subscribe down below, join our little yard family. Woody and I will be happy to have you. Okay, let's get into today's video. Morning campers. It's another freezing day here in Surrey, and Woody and I have our weekly lesson, so we shall take you with us. Hiya. Hello, Wood. Hiya. Hello. What have you been doing? Hi. Can I have a kiss? Oh. Aww. No kiss. No kiss. Right, here's the plan. I'm going to groom. And then we're going to take him over to the solarium for 15 minutes to warm up his back before our ride. And then I'll tack him up while he's under there. While I also warm up because it's really cold today and I want my back warmed up too. That was the unmistakable sound of a horse leaving the yard without his owner. Thankfully he was caught a couple of seconds later and we carried on as normal. So we've got Woody here under the lights for 15 minutes, and when he's done I'm going to tack him up and then we'll go straight in the arena. So this will warm up his back. Oh, I'm tired. Whilst he's here I'm also going to do a little warm up of my own because I also feel like my back muscles could do with a warm up. Good boy. And he always slides out from underneath it, so I'm going to have to move him over now. We shall see you in the arena. So as you might have noticed with the solarium and my conversations about symmetry in the past, warm-ups have become a really important part of mine and Woody's riding schedule. So I'm always like to be prompt and have his back warmed up and then get on and warm up a little bit in walk before my coach comes in. So here you can see me walking around with no stirrups. I'm going to do twice on each rein. I try once I get on board to actually go in a different direction each time so that I'm starting on different reins, and I've already done some stretching of my own before getting on board, so I'm just using this walk with no stirrups to help loosen me off at the hip, make sure that I'm sitting square. I'm getting to the point now in my symmetry journey, as I'll call it, where I can tell when I'm not sitting square but I can't always fix it. So whereas before I couldn't even tell that I wasn't square, now I can tell when something's slightly off, and doing this without stirrups as a warm-up really helps me to do that.
When we think about the suppleness, there's the longitudinal suppleness, which is like over the back and here.
Yeah.
And then there's the latitudinal suppleness, and that's the bit that he slightly struggles with.
Yeah.
And I think when he kind of goes there, he sort of locks himself everywhere else.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Before you put him there, I think you need to make sure he can sort of, you know,
Bend.
it's a bit like if you were warming up and you kind of do a little bit of this. You just need to get him moving.
Okay.
Like that.
So with what my coach just said, we are going to put Woody on a big circle in this area in trot, and I'm going to have long reins, which is going to force him to balance himself and force him to really come through from behind himself and not rely on me to balance him. The challenge here is going to be that he's quite spooky, and he's obviously not used to having someone not supporting him. So he's going to have to really pick himself up, and I'm going to have to work quite hard not to go to my hand, but to ask him to bend to the inside so that he stays with me and he doesn't get distracted.
That's the thing, his mindset's very different when he's on long range, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's like he's not in work mode.
No, not at all.
But then I can see why you get hold of him quite quickly.
Good.
Yeah. Very good. Keep getting that head to the left. You're going to soften the right rein, take on the left rein.
Good boy.
He's just running a bit downhill, so I think it's just being mindful that you don't go too fast.
Might just take this off. Good boy.
But yeah, I can see why you get hold of him, because he's just a bit nosy, isn't he?
He is, but equally if I had, like, if I were really confident in my core and my balance, then I probably wouldn't do that. Yeah. It's only because I'm like, oh god.
You need to have hold of him. My prediction on this rein is he'll be happy to look to the right, but he's probably going to fall out through his outside shoulder.
Okay.
All we want is that he trots on slightly longer reins, with his head.
See, as I'm editing this already to me looks much better than it did before. Even though I'm slightly battling with where he's looking, I'm not using my hand to do a lot of the movement. I'm asking him to be the one that balances himself and trying to balance through my body. Next, we added in canter. The biggest challenge for me was staying still during transitions and not tensing up if Woody got quicker and quicker, and not using my hand to slow him down. Oh no, no jumping. Steady.
Yeah, so that's quite hard for you and him, that, in those longer reins. It's really good practice.
Steady. Steady.
Good.
Good boy.
We'll get some canter as well, so it's quite exciting.
Steady.
Come back to trot.
Oh, to rot. Woohoo. Good boy.
Really good. That was quite a challenge, really.
Yeah. Good boy. Oh, no jumping today.
It's good. You didn't, you could have like crept up the rein, but you didn't.
Yeah. Had to work quite hard not to, but.
Good boy.
Yeah, having a look at the jumps.
Yeah. Have a little change of rein. We'll do the same the other way. Good.
Steady.
Very good. Then just slightly back to trot.
Ah, good boy.
Very good.
Yeah,
so let's just do a series, 5 or 6 transitions maybe. Trot, canter, canter, trot, back and forth.
Okay.
And you may just, in doing the transitions, you may just kind of squash together a bit more, and you may find that you just naturally just have to shorten the reins a little bit.
Okay.
But just see how it goes. The pace up and down through gears, staying in that one balance. Good. As tempting as it is
to rot.
Good.
To rot. To rot. To rot. To rot. Good boy.
Just establish the trot, slow him down a little bit. Good. Back to canter again. Good.
To rot. to rot,
Hold on.
to rot.
Good boy.
You look at anything, you will.
Good.
Steady.
That's why he's just got to find his own balance. Not rely on you to hold his head up.
To rot. Steady. To rot. To rot.
Good.
To
That's it.
rot.
He's got to find his own braking system. He's got to use his back end. What he wants to do is
Woohoo.
use his pulley so he can lean on you and use his front end. And he's got to use his back end, and that's what that's making him do. That's why it's taking a bit of time. It doesn't matter how long the transition takes to come.
Okay.
Just keep sitting in balance and just keep asking.
Okay, don't get like stronger.
No,
Okay.
don't worry too much.
Okay.
Ask off the voice, use your knee and thigh.
Okay.
Do a couple more.
Okay.
That's difficult.
Good boy.
So much better going.
Yeah, it feels better.
We'll pick the reins up and it'll feel so much easier.
Good boy. 2, 3.
Come back to trot, you might want to run away.
To
The first few
rot.
slow.
To rot.
Oh,
Ooh.
good, slow. Yeah, good. Good.
Boy.
Leg on. Good boy.
Good boy.
Now, guys. Why are you not helping me?
I know.
Good boy.
Okay. Canter. Canter. And to rot. Woo-hoo.
Knees, stay still, just wait for it. Slowly. Good.
So we of course did that on each rein, and then we went back to doing walk to trot transitions and trot to walk transitions. Each time I did a transition, I was taking a little bit more of the contact, and then eventually we went large and did a little bit of shapes and circles with this new contact, with him feeling a little looser and a little more supple to finish the session. Woody is ready to go out in the field. Just untacked him quickly. I'm just going to change my boots and then take him out. Really pleased though. He feels really good after his time off. So, spot on really. So just whilst Woody and I head out to the field, I thought I would touch on another topic of conversation, amusing if you will, that I've been talking about this week. Good boy. Hi! Good lad. So the other thing that I have been talking about with my coach this week has been something that's sort of been on my mind for quite a long time really, ever since I became a horse owner. And that's like, what happens if the worst happened? Like, what happens to Woody if I die? And so I thought, well, I really ought to put a document or something together to say, like, these are my instructions, this is what I want to happen. So I spoke to my family first, and then I spoke to Hannah, and I think Hannah knows I love to be organised, I love a document for this and that and whatever. And so I said, you know, is this really weird, is it awkward? And she said, actually, it's really common. She's had lots of liveries, like now, in the past and whatever, that have had instructions for what happens when they die. And she said she's had people before who have left money as well for the horse, or have left instructions about how the horse should be sold or who it should go to, or money for a certain amount of time. And it was just a really interesting thing, I thought, because it's something I hadn't thought about, and I do have specific things I'd want to happen if I did pass away. So I put this on my Instagram, and lots of other people had similar experiences, or people who hadn't even thought about it before. So it's a really interesting array of responses. So Woody is out. He just had a good old canter, and I'm like, please don't break yourself. So last week I asked for questions on my Instagram, questions that you guys had for me. I pre-recorded some when I was tack cleaning yesterday, so I will put those after this. One's about embarrassing horsey moments, how I chose my coach, I think was the other one. And there was one more that I'm going to answer for you here, which was how did I know that Woody was the one? And I guess first of all, I don't think you ever really know from viewing whether they're the one. But I think you're looking for certain attributes and certain feelings that you get. And my coach had said to me before I went, just looking out for mud so I don't splat, she said if a horse makes you feel like you're riding a riding school horse, they're probably not. Or if the horse makes you feel like your riding is bad and you're not riding well, then they're probably not the right horse for you. If they make you feel like a good rider, then they probably are the right horse for you. And I got on and he did make me feel like the right rider. Amongst other things, the wonderful guy that was selling him was so great and supportive and lovely. But there was a specific moment when I was riding that was like the light bulb moment. And so I'd done my walk, trot, canter, I'd watched them ride. Hello, Mishka. Having a little stand at the gate. I'd watched them ride and then I'd done my walk, trot, canter and I just started jumping, and there was 3 jumps in the school. There was a cross pole, there was a little straight bar, and there was a spread. And so, hello Mishka. And so I jumped the cross pole and I jumped the straight bar, and then without anyone asking or prompting me, I went and jumped the spread, which if you know me, I'm not like the most confident jumper. I like jumping, but that's not my, you know, I'm not like 3 foot, yeah, go ahead, like I'm not the bravest, especially not on horses that I don't know. And it was just as I landed over this spread that I realised I'd gone and jumped that without anybody prompting me to do it and saying like, go and jump the spread. It just so happens that I have that particular jump on Woody on film. Shall we have a look?
Lovely.
I thought to myself, if I can feel that comfortable after sitting on this horse for 20 minutes, I think that's a really good sign. So that was kind of the first step, and then of course I went back and hacked him out, and that was lovely, and then we did the vetting and lots of other things. But that was the feeling that I got when I jumped him that made me think, he's my guy. Today I am cleaning my tack, and whilst I clean my tack, I'm going to answer some of the questions that you asked me on Instagram. So one of the first questions that I really liked was, what has been your most embarrassing horsey moment? I have 2. I have one that was sort of embarrassing and funny, and one that was like embarrassing and like not funny at all. So I'll start with the funny one. So I borrowed a pony when I was a child called Mr. Chips, and I took him to Pony Club Camp. And Mr. Chips barged. That was a habit that he had. He was amazing once you were on him, but on the ground he was quite bolshy, and he would barge out of his stable. So if somebody opened the door, he'd find the gap and he'd be gone. So I took him to Pony Club Camp, and at Pony Club Camp we were there for a few days, and they had these sort of set up stables, these wooden stables. And of course he learnt pretty quickly that he could barge me out of the way, and then he could gallop around this massive field with all these other ponies, and of course he thought this was all hilarious. So the initial sort of idea was that I would use a mountain block to climb over Mr. Chips's door in the morning, and I would muck him out with him in there. And then once my instructor had arrived, who was much taller than me and actually featured in my video when I went riding with my old riding school, total legend. Once she'd arrived at Pony Club Camp, she would open the door, get Mr. Chips out, and we would crack on. So I would essentially do everything in his box. A few days in, Mr. Chips learned that if he gave it enough of a run up from the back of his stable, that he could actually open the door by sort of giving it a good bash. So he escaped. And he became known for this at Pony Club Camp. Everybody knew who he was, because if a pony was loose, the chances are it was Mr. Chips. So that became quite funny, but also not super helpful to the organisers, who were worried that they were going to lose this pony or he was going to cause a problem. So eventually they did agree that he could live nearby at some little stables that were sort of stone stables, real stables. And what would happen is that as we ate breakfast in the morning, they got a local jockey to go over to the nearby farm, tack Mr. Chips up and ride him over to Pony Club Camp. And then I would meet the jockey and I would get on and we would crack on and have a lovely day. And that was quite frankly, the most wonderful experience ever. I thought it was absolutely hilarious that this jockey had to go and collect my pony, and it's actually how I met one of my friends today, Robin, who knew this jockey and helped organise all of this. So that was hilarious. Now, the embarrassing moment that wasn't funny was that when I was younger, I wasn't very brave as a rider. I'm still not very brave, to be fair. But I was having a jumping lesson with a new instructor who I hadn't really had many lessons with, and actually she ended up not staying at the yard for very long. Anyway, she wanted us to jump this particular thing, and I was really scared. I really didn't want to do it. And so I got really upset because she was insisting that I do it, and I was just so terrified, and she didn't offer an alternative or a smaller jump or whatever. Very much like tough love. So anyway, I started crying because, you know, I was young and I didn't want to do it, and I was scared and everything else. And she sent me to the corner of the school, and she said that I had to stay there until the end of the lesson because I was crying and I didn't do what she said. And that was so embarrassing because, you know, I was in a class of like 6 or 7 other riders, and they'd all seen this, and I felt really humiliated. And I was particularly upset and embarrassed because these lessons I had once a week were everything to me. You know, I can't remember at that time if it was my parents who were paying for them, or if at that time we'd switched to me working in exchange for lessons, because it was really something we couldn't really afford. And so often my mum would pay some of it, and then I would work for the 2 days at the weekend to pay for the rest. So they meant a great deal to me, and it wasn't something that, it was something I really looked forward to. So that was really embarrassing, and I think it really shaped how I choose my instructors today, and how important it is, their rapport that you have with the riders. And actually, that leads on nicely to another question that I had, which was, how did I choose the coach that I have? Just going to say that my bridle is done. So what I did with my bridle there is watered it first with hot water, and then I put step 1 of the Belvoir tack cleaner on it, and then step 2, where's the label? There we are. Step 2 of the Belvoir tack cleaner. So I'm going to move on to my saddle, which means I'm going to drop this down so you can see. So the next question was, how did I choose the coach that I have today? So I came to this yard many times before I actually decided to come here. I competed up here, I did clinics up here and things, and then I had a couple of private lessons with this coach to see if we got on, and of course we did. And I think when I was looking for a new coach, one of the things that really drew me to Hannah, who is my coach now, was that not only had she got a bunch of all the qualifications you would expect an instructor to have, but that she continually developed her training and got new training as time went on. And one of the things that she got trained in, which I thought was really interesting, was sports psychology, and sort of the psychology of riding and riders, and how to support riders with that. And I just thought that was that really made her an attractive coach to me, because for me, like, so much of riding is what is in your head, and if you're able to actually manage that and deal with it, I guess. And so the fact that she was thinking about riders' mental state and mental health and psychology made it a really attractive proposition to me. And so that's where we went on from there. Just choose another question. There were some really good ones. What are some good exercises to do in the gym for riding? So this is something I've been focusing on a lot lately, because I've been on a kind of a symmetry and balance journey, I guess, for a while now. It started with an Andy Thomas clinic that just happened to be, just move it so you can see a bit more, just happened to be at the yard, and I didn't even think about balance and symmetry before that, really, to be honest. But after that, you know, I worked with a saddler who also focused on this stuff, and then it just got me really into it. So I started out just looking at, there's a lot of free content from Dressage Rider Training, that's her name, on YouTube. She does a lot of yoga for riders, and she does a lot of different exercises you can do at the gym for riders, and a lot of it is based on either balance or single leg exercises, like single sides of the body, so that you build up both sides of the body equally, basically. So I did that, and then I also carried on the exercises that Andy Thomas had given me, which again were about single sides of the body and activating certain parts of your body in order to make your hips and your pelvis work the way that they should when you're in the saddle, basically, for the best way that they can. And then I'd followed Activate Your Seat on Instagram for a long time. Activate Your Seat is run by a physio called Maeve, who is based in Scotland, and she treats people IRL in real life, but she also has this system of training called Activate Your Seat. And she's developed this bungee that goes around your waist, and videos to go with this bungee that are specifically sort of designed to help riders strengthen their symmetry and their balance so that when they ride in the saddle. So I got my, I've been looking at it for a while, and then I finally bit the bullet and thought, okay, I'm just going to buy the bungee and buy the first stage video. There's 2 stages. And so I did, and I bought it about 2 weeks ago. And every time I go to the gym, I try and do a little bit of it, so 4 times a week or so. And it's actually been really helpful. I've had a couple of discouraging moments where I've got in the saddle and just thought like nothing is going to change. And to be really honest, on my super negative days, I look around and I'm like, all these riders who don't think about their balance and symmetry, like they're having such a good time and they look fine. Why am I getting stuck on this? And then I realised, you know, we're all on our own journeys, and you know, it's something I really care about and I really want to get better at, and that doesn't happen without a bit of pain. So I've been doing that for a couple of weeks, but if you want the free stuff, then Dressage Rider Training has a lot of content. Activate Your Seat has a lot of exercises on her Instagram, and then of course you can upgrade to both of those riders training programs if it's like of interest and you feel you gel with the rider. Okay, saddle is done. So that's it. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you do have any questions or comments, you can leave those below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next Friday, 4 PM GMT. Bye for now.